Humanity is growing incessantly. There are almost 10,000 new additions to the human race every hour. Today, we have already reached 7.5 billion. Of these, more than half already live in cities, thus making living space more scarce and more expensive. The UN estimates that the world's population will grow by a further third by the year 2050. But where and how are all of these people to live? Experts, architects, and city planners all over the world are working on solutions to the increasing shortage of space and urbanization. New ideas are being sought to make life in the cities affordable and worth living in again. One model for the future builds on the idea of so-called shared spaces with cluster apartments. But what exactly does this mean? Cluster apartments are a cross between shared flats and ultra-small apartments, as in this complex, which opens in November 2018. On the one hand, there are self-contained rooms with a small bathroom and kitchenette, supplemented on the other hand by additional large communal living areas.
In shared spaces, we have spaces for the community, so where everybody can go and can use the spaces, like a lounge, like a fitness room, and also a rent kitchen, where you can rent the kitchen for a party or whatever. And also we have the apartments, where you can be for yourself.
Many of the new micro-apartments already make use of the possibilities offered by digitalization. That digitalization and urbanization go hand in hand can also be seen in the affected sectors, such as the construction and furniture industries. More and more interior design concepts orient themselves on the trend of the smart home, an intelligently networked home where automatically controlled roller shutters and lighting are just the beginning. In future, the smart home will also be able to register when a person falls and contact the emergency services independently.
We placed a lot of value on ensuring that the system we offer can be retrofitted and can also be used in rented properties. We use the power infrastructure there and transmit the signal of each individual sensor per radio.
But even though design and technology are merging together more and more, the massive influx of new city dwellers remains one of the most important topics. Around the year 1900, only roughly 10% of the world's population lived in cities. This figure has now risen to 50%. By 2050, it will be almost 70%, and each and every one of them will want a roof over their head. Current studies conducted by Köln Messe confirm this.
Die jungen Leute zieht es in die urbanen Zentren.
Young people are attracted to the urban centers. Some older people too, who don't want to miss out on the conveniences, as well as the cultural, economic and social amenities that a city can offer. So space must be dealt with economically. Micro-apartments are part of this.
Zählen die Mikroapartments dazu?
In addition to the concept of particularly small, some city planners are also having a shot at the goal particularly big. Building upwards began at the end of the 19th century, and the age of the modern high-rise began with the invention of steel frame construction and the electric elevator. The current record holder stands in Dubai. The Burj Khalifa measures an impressive 828 meters. And the breakthrough of the magical 1 kilometer limit would appear to be merely a matter of time. These giant structures cannot solve the problem of urban space shortage either, however, because the construction and maintenance costs of these skyscrapers are enormous too. Objects of this kind therefore serve prestige purposes more than anything else. As there are limits to vertical and horizontal construction, another model is asserting itself in many places. Compression. Additionally required living space is acquired here by adding stories to existing buildings and skillfully utilizing construction gaps. In this instance, an architect has radically implemented this idea. The house, which was built in a construction gap, is only 3.5 meters wide, but still offers 75 square meters of floor space spread over 5 floors. Many people, including Czech designer Lucy Koldova, are dealing with the question of how living quality of the highest possible standard can be achieved in compact areas. Her special theme is the psychology of light, properly applied, lighting can have a great influence on a person's feeling of well-being and performance capacity. The concept is that no matter whether in the kitchen or the study, every room should be given its own individual light coloring and design.
I divided the rooms into different zones so that you can experience every time different mood and different atmosphere. And in my opinion, light should follow the atmosphere you would like to reach. And you should be able to enjoy lights in a different way by each activity you do at home.
How big should living space ultimately be for a person to enjoy a good life? And is bigger really always better? The fact is that people are continuing to move to the large urban conurbations, while the makeup of the population is changing at the same time, with more and more one- and two-person households. Although these trends pose great challenges for the housing of the future, they also offer many opportunities, because they make fundamental changes to the forms and possibilities of how we live together. $89.3 billion was spent on kitchens worldwide in 2017, with this figure likely to rise. The kitchen has long since become a status symbol and often forms the focal point of people's homes. It's living space in its living room. It's not just about cooking, preparing, and tidying away. It also involves quite naturally producing a really cozy atmosphere over dinner in a kitchen with beautiful lighting. In this regard, the kitchen really has become a part of people's living space and not merely a room with a collection of furniture. Tell me what you eat and I'll tell you who you are, said French author Briand Sévarine many years ago. That this is not necessarily true anymore can be seen from a recent study conducted by global delivery service Deliveroo. It evaluated the orders of 10,000 partner restaurants all over the world and produced some astonishing results. The favorite dish of the French in Paris, for example, is spaghetti bolognese, whereas the tradition-conscious Romans prefer to have a burger rather than a pizza on their plate. And the #1 spot in Sydney goes to the chicken burger. So, an amazing amount of international dishes are also cooked in the great cities of the world, even in home kitchens. In her Elements kitchen, Sarah Henke demonstrates that Asian aromas can also reach 5-star level. She was born in Seoul, abandoned as a baby on the streets of the city, and adopted as a child into a German family. She visited her home country for the first time and set out in search of her roots. The book project has, of course, been a really big and emotional one, traveling around for 2 weeks with a photographer and having a look at many different towns and cities. Getting to know all the different cooking styles. Above all, traditional Korean cuisine and a chunk of the country of my birth was understandably very emotional at times, and also tremendously interesting and inspirational for me. And my cooking, and the restaurant here. Stories that inspire hobby cooks all over the world. Recent studies show that 45% of hobby cooks are inspired by the star chefs. Argentinians, Chinese, and Turks are most in love with their kitchen idols. This enthusiasm for cooking causes a lot of stress all over the globe too, however. 59% of people feel under pressure when hosting a dinner. Russian and Dutch people are the most relaxed here when faced with this challenge, whereas the Chinese feel the most pressure as hosts. So what does it look like now, the kitchen of the future? Whereas hobby cooks strive to copy their idols in their private culinary temples, many people lack the time and leisure that cooking requires. That is why electrical goods manufacturers are looking for innovative solutions to make things easier for hobby cooks.
You don't need any cooking know-how to be able to use this. With our smart home application, you can just search for the recipe that you like, choose a recipe, follow the instructions, very easy, and the oven does all the think work.
This raises the question as to whether food will soon cook by itself or be prepared by robots with artificial intelligence.
Ich glaube, das ist sehr zwiegespalten. Also einerseits sage ich auf jeden Fall.
I think there are two very different ways of looking at it. I would definitely say on the one hand that people are still needed to cook truly exceptional dishes, the personality of the people who vouch for their products, the people who process the products and really understand and care about them. On the other hand, though, I believe that because of the many difficulties that gastronomy has to contend with, not enough trained personnel, compliance with working hours, etc., that some machines will definitely replace some kitchen workers sooner or later. Smart home is the new trend here, the kitchen of the future where people can check what is still in the fridge while they're out shopping. There are many different solutions which make cooking easier in many places. A completely new feature is the integration of the hob into the worktop to form a single surface.
The benefits of TPV is that it's much more efficient than any other induction in the market. Number one, because we elevate the pans, so you have 50% less residual heat going to the surface. That means that it's warm to the touch, but it doesn't burn. It's also a scratch-resistant surface. So perhaps you can chop and cook, and it's a much more practical product.
Technology temples on the one hand and increasing awareness of and demand for sustainability on the other. 52% of people take sustainability into account when shopping or making investments.
Also das Thema Wohnlichkeit spielt in der Küche eine ganz wesentliche Rolle.
The topic of livability plays an essential role in the kitchen. A room to live, work, and relax in, or simply put, living space, which plays such a dominant role in the kitchen design of today and tomorrow. This trend is certain to increase rather than decrease.
Eher verstärken, als dass sich zurücknimmt.
Combined with state-of-the-art electric appliances, the kitchen becomes a mixture of high-tech, emotion, and sensual experience. So people of all nations cook with great passion and orient themselves on their own great role models from top-class gastronomy. No wonder then that even the big industrial trade fairs for kitchens, such as the Living Kitchen in Cologne, have the character of a great consumer event. There are lots of chefs here. I just discovered Johann Lava. There's a whole lot more hiding around in the kitchen somewhere cooking and sizzling. It's quite simply a wonderful meeting of people from the same line of business. No matter whether it's sustainable natural wood kitchen or a technology temple in future design, the kitchen of tomorrow will be planned with the greatest of care when the fittings and furniture are installed. People in Germany spend an average of 6,281 euros on a new kitchen. But they often prefer to save for a new luxury kitchen than for an expensive car. Worldwide, the growth rate for kitchens costing between 25,000 and 100,000 euros is around 30%. The important thing is that cooking and eating together are a basic pleasure, which make people happy in all of the continents of the world. The world's population is growing with every second that passes. Over 7.6 billion people currently inhabit planet Earth. The countries with the biggest populations in 2018 were China with 1.4 billion, followed by India with 1.33 billion, and the USA where 328 million people currently live. And all of the people all over the world have one thing in common. They all want to live in their own dream home. But a genuine home can only be created through individual fittings and furnishings. We are living, I believe, in an era where individuality is an absolute megatrend. The customers of today strive for self-realization, and more than anything else, their own four walls are predestined to reflect people's preferences and individual taste. The use of building materials runs through the entire course of human history. Stone, along with wood, is one of the oldest natural building materials in existence. Ceramics, metals, glass, and plastics supplement the materials from which furniture is made. These are the materials from which dream homes are made. With a market volume of 235 million euros in 2019, the biggest turnover is generated in the USA, followed by the UK with 76 million and Germany with 55 million euros.
Bei den Materialwelten
It goes without saying that the
geht
world of
es
materials
natürlich
includes
um Lack,
lacquers, be it
ob
high-gloss
Hochglanzlack
paint or
oder
soft
Softlack,
varnish,
dann aber
as well
auch
as more
speziellere
specialized themes,
Themen wie
such as metal or real
Metalloberflächen,
cement surfaces.
wie Echtzementoberflächen.
Then, of course,
Da gehen wir
there is
natürlich auf das
glass,
Thema Glas,
which is
was
still
immer
a
noch als
wonderful design
Gestaltungselement
element,
ein
and now
wunderschönes
real
Thema
wood
ist.
too, at a
Und jetzt
reasonable
eben auch das
price.
Thema Echtholz zu einem vernünftigen Preis.
Furniture made of wood is still an indestructible classic in the furniture industry, which has been celebrating a comeback in recent years. Attributes such as durability, uniqueness, health, and living quality are representative of solid wood furniture. The decisive aspects of this material are its value retention, natural radiance, and sustainability.
Ist dieses sich wieder verbunden
There
fühlen
is
mit
this
dem
feeling of
Ursprünglichen,
reconnecting
was
with
in
the
einer heutigen
original, which is
Gesellschaft,
a
wo sehr
deep
viel
desire in
Technologie,
today's
sehr viel
society,
technische
where there is so
Materialien
much
auf
technology
dem
and
Markt
so
sind,
many
eine
technical
Sehnsucht
materials on the
darstellt.
market.
Die Leute
People can feel
spüren
comforted,
oder suchen nach
protected, or look
Geborgenheit,
for
nach
security
Sicherheit,
and
nach
warmth.
Wärme.
Wooden furniture is to be found all over Europe these days in almost all rooms. In Ireland, a good 90% of all bedrooms have furniture made from this natural material. In Poland, on the other hand, 80% of all fittings and furnishings in dining and living rooms are made of wood. An awareness of the finite properties of the raw materials is setting in with all consumers.
I do feel that the user, that young generation, the consumer in a way, they also asking about recycling products or recycling materials. The people are critical nowadays, and the young generation are critical. They don't want to have as much product as possible.
Metal furniture is also making big advances in the popularity ratings, however. There has been great demand in this regard for quite some time now for furniture with an industrial flair, with focus on metal, often in combination with solid wood. On top of this, the combination with other materials, such as wood or plastic, help to offset its cool and sterile look. It is especially the combination of metal, wood, leather, or fabric, which is extraordinarily popular with young designers, that give furniture like a coffee table or a sofa a very homely effect. In contrast, pieces of furniture made entirely of metal, such as chairs or shelves, exude their own individual charm. Synthetics were regarded for a long time as a low-quality material in furniture production and did not have a good reputation as plastic. The quality and durability of plastic furniture tend to be limited. The established desire for sustainability can gradually be seen in the US in the sales figures for plastic furniture, which have experienced a slight decline since 2015. Sales in the plastic furniture and other furnishing segment in the US are set to total around 3.8 million euros in 2019. Nanotechnologies are opening up a wealth of new opportunities for improving the surface properties of furniture materials. Surfaces are given special properties using nanotechnological coating techniques, which make them UV resistant, scratch-proof, and easy to clean. Home furnishings would be unthinkable today without including the aspect of smart living. The pioneer in the sales market for smart furnishings is the US, where sales of $4.6 trillion are being predicted for 2019. Whereas it has been possible to light up rooms for speech control for quite some time now, surfaces are turning more and more into technical marvels nowadays.
We can place media anywhere in our physical environment and we can interact with it. That means eventually, I believe we will go away, moving away from these tablets or smartphones, these little corner things, placing our media content wherever we need it, wherever we want it, fitting to our context. Using media to support our life, make life more beautiful, more nicer, more fresh, more social, have more interaction with people.
Decorative materials for furniture and interior design are as indispensable as they are fascinating. The constant change and high development speed pose a challenge to users and designers. Those who want to march with the times should know where the journey is taking them.
All my clients who work with that, they talk about natural materials all the time. But I think if I would sort of like point out to the future, it wouldn't surprise me that in maybe 2 years or 3 years at this fair, we would have young people who are working with really eco plastics and synthetic materials, but which are smart and which work in an environmental way.
Sustainability and recyclability are the trend topics in furniture manufacture. Upcycling has become much more than just a trend in the meantime. It has become part of a lifestyle where all materials are regarded as valuable, where things are shared, not bought, and where as little as possible is wasted.
I think as a designer it's very important to be curious, to be open-minded, and so it's always a new challenge and it's interesting. I think nowadays we really have to consider to buy good products which become companions for our life. The most important thing is, I think, to think really in a sustainable way, in a responsible way, because materials, resources, some of them are ending.
The disappearance of raw materials is forcing designers to rethink, allied with a growing interest among consumers in sustainable raw materials. Innovative ways of thinking are required here from designers and interior architects in order to implement the necessary creativity.
Wichtig ist natürlich, wenn man
It is of course important when designing furniture or a home interior to establish a very strong contact with the surroundings. It can therefore no longer be the case, in my opinion, that there can be neutralized offers for a piece of furniture to suit all living situations in all towns and cities. Furniture should reflect more regionality because it simply makes sense, it's easy to implement, and is ultimately ecological too.